Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast that, like the St. Louis Cardinals, are completely powerless. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Ben Simorka.
I feel utterly powerless today, Nate.
If you have an idea for the opening bit, text or leave us a voicemail at 848-48-BIRDS. Hambone, we've done it. We're back. We've survived another weekend of complete success.
Complete success. Never took an L.
Never taken out.
Every time I show up to that lake, and specifically that tournament, I feel at home.
Peak performance. This is what peak performance looks like.
I not like it.
You might not like it, but this is what peak performance looks like. If you're new to the show or you forgot between last week and this week, which is completely reasonable, Ben and I every year go and compete down at the Lake of the Ozarks. My dad hosts a crappie tournament, usually around 20, 30 guys, 2 days straight of fishing. And, well, Ben, let's see, what were our scores this year? How many fish did we contribute between the two of us? Let's make sure we get our numbers correct here.
How many did we submit?
How many did we
fit the competition parameters? One.
That's right. Yeah, you got the big one. You got one about the middle of our second day. That was that counted. Now we did catch a handful of other little fish guys, but they were
we did, as a boat, we did try to submit a bass, which was rejected because we don't know what fish are.
Yeah, there's something I don't know what the right word for it is, but when you're standing on a dock with like 15 dudes at minimum age of like 60 plus, all like pointing and laughing at you. It's like
the first time I've been bullied in a long time.
Yeah, we got bullied a couple times this weekend.
We did, yeah.
But yeah, it was, some would call it an utter failure, a embarrassing, attempt at competing. But I certainly wouldn't call it that.
Yeah, those are the people who I don't even want listening to this podcast right now.
Right. Yeah, I feel like we crushed it, even if the results don't show. I'm a process guy, not a results guy. You know what I mean?
Our process was good.
It was perfect, pristine. We were fishing left and right. You can't say we weren't.
No one fell into the water.
No one. Surprisingly, something that not everybody in this tournament can say, but we can say we have never fallen off the boat. I did come close. Chris's pole got stuck and split in half, and half of it fell into the water, and I went over to get it, and I fell and kind of fell down into the engine well there in the back, but not in the water. Stayed dry.
We may have broke or damaged our engine slightly, but we got home.
And we provided a fish for the fish fry.
That one fish that we submitted was good size.
It was a big one.
That fed at least half a person.
Yeah, at least. So ultimately, it was a success. So thank you all I know the betting was fierce. I know the online markets, Polymarket and whatnot. I mean, there was a lot of money on this. And if you had the over on 0 fish,
cha-ching.
Cha-ching. Surprisingly, that was not the popular vote. The popular vote was 0 fish. So, or popular bet was 0 fish. And
wow.
So we beat the odds.
Wow.
So
amazing.
Yep. We'll be back next year.
I will say, I believe you and I got third place in the bags tournament, which was
now that was fierce.
That was much. We performed like real athletes there. That was good. We got beat by a hot team. You know that happens in October. A team gets hot and they just sweep everybody. I think true talent would show that we're closer to first or second place, but third place is nothing to sneeze
I'll
at.
take it. Yeah, it was a double elimination tournament against a bunch of retirees. All they have to do all day is throw bags. So that felt pretty good. I felt like we were.
It's the only thing that gives their life any meaning,
And you could tell. Shout out to all the retirees out there. May we join you one day.
Please.
We just need that Bill DeWitt level. Someone.
Oh, we'll retire tomorrow. Yeah, let's go.
All we need is $1.5 million split between the two of us, and we'll retire the podcast at the very least.
We're low maintenance.
So anyway, we're back. We did it. Ben had a Coachella into fishing, but now we're back just to talk about the St. Louis Cardinals. And I don't know. What do you want to talk about with the Cardinals?
Hey, we got a packed show. Come on now. Let's get back on the rails. Let's get fired up.
We really do.
It
is quite a packed week.
That's what I'm trying to say. Come on now. I need you to focus up. Drink your green tea or whatever it is that you do.
No, I don't have green tea right now. I've just got a nice, fresh bottle of water.
That gin? Is that?
Right. Two pint glasses full of gin that I intend to get through in the next hour.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yep.
All right, let's get into it. Thomas DeJacy has been sent back down to AAA. Jose Barrero will take his spot on the 26-man roster. Ryan Lotus has been DFA'd, and Ryan Fernandez has been sent to AAA. A lot of machinations on the 25th and 26th spots on the roster right now. So JC going down, I guess probably the biggest story. Not only is he, a 23-year-old prospect that we like, but he was one of the more successful hitters recently on the Cardinals. What do you think about Sajacy going down?
Yeah, I have a mix of emotions on it. On the one hand, I'm not surprised at all because, as I said with C70 on his show last week, this is the normal playbook for a team, right? He's the young guy, he's the new guy up, he's got plenty of options. When you need to cut a guy, you send the guy who was most recently called up back down. Ride the bus. You'll be back one day, probably soon, kid. Good luck. Go play every day at AAA. And that's why I was actually quite surprised when the Cardinals made what I thought really good and forward-thinking decision of sending Siani down instead of Sajacy at the last time they had an opportunity. Right. But now here we are the next week, and that has happened. They've sent him down in favor of Barrero, which we're in like we're like in a limbo here of having this same exact conversation over and over of they got a log jam with like these 5 guys, and they're just seems like the plan is just to keep rotating. Kind of right now, no matter how well they're performing, they're going to be rotated, because if it was performance only, I don't know how you send Sajacy down right now. I don't fully understand the value of Barrero over Sajacy. I was calling for Barrero to be the guy out of spring training to be the 26th man. I've been a fan of him in the past, and I think he's still young enough with plenty of upside. But they made their decision back then. They called up JC most recently. He's been crushing. I don't fully get it other than just let's bring in another guy, get another look. Barrero can play more positions than JC.
Outfield flexibility, I think, is what it comes down to. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, did we need that fully with, we know Brendan Donovan's playing an okay outfield. Victor Scott's locked in every day. Unless you're planning on maybe starting to do something different with Walker, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I didn't feel like we needed more outfield flexibility, but I get the sense that they're just really want to lock in giving guys like Gorman plate appearances, and those plate appearances for Sajacy we're going to dry up even more, and they just want a super utility plug in anywhere, including the outfield, and we'll roll with that for a little while, which is what I thought was going to happen out of spring with Barrero. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think if you're optimizing the lineup to max potential, you're probably moving Jordan Walker out back down to AAA, putting Brendan Donovan in the outfield, so JC's taking over second. But we're not really trying to optimize right now, I don't think, or at least it doesn't appear, because this is the development year and we're giving Nolan Gorman and Jordan Walker as many ABs as it takes to get them good and or make a decision.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, I mean, like the Jose Barrero, he can play shortstop and he can play center field, meaning he can pretty much play anywhere on the diamond. And let's not, totally throw out the idea that Barrero is kind of crushing it in AAA. He's got a 146 WRC plus. He is walking a lot, almost 14% right now. He has 4 bombs against 5 stolen bases. He's kind of doing everything. He's also 27. He's been around a lot longer than most of these other guys. I think that there's probably a part of this where the Cardinals want to see what Barrero's got at the big leagues. I think that he's probably part of the evaluation of seeing, everything. Obviously, they like him enough to have brought him in. He has a prospect pedigree of some note. So I think there's part of that. But yeah, I think it really just comes down to we're committed to Gorman. We're committed to Walker. So JC is a future piece. So let's focus on him getting everyday ABs right now. And if we want Victor Scott or Lars Nootbaar or Mason Wynn to get a day off, Jose Barrero gives you a lot more confidence than making Brendan Donovan go into one of those places or Lars Nootbaar playing center field. He just has a higher defensive floor at more premium positions. So I, for one, am excited to see, especially with this hot start. I'm not saying that, breakout incoming for Barrero, but he's toolsy as hell and could be fun to watch, especially when the Cardinals are kind of like not super fun to watch. At least these last 2 weeks has been kind of a rough go.
Has been. And, if you look under the hood of Sajaci a little bit, still very good, especially for his age and experience at the major league level, but he's certainly gotten a little bit lucky. His expected WOBA was a 334 against a 378 WOBA. Now, a 334 is still quite good at the major league level, again, especially from a guy his age and with his experience. So even if he's getting a little lucky, even the underlying numbers say he's quite good. But I don't know. I guess maybe it makes sense to just rotate these guys around, but it's hard to have asked for anything more from Sajaci than what he did in his 44 plate appearances. You're talking about Barrero having the 146 WRC plus at AAA as a 27-year-old, which is important. Sajaci had a 141 at the major league level as a 23-year-old.
Yeah.
So, so like, I don't know how you look at this as a long-term decision unless you really do think Barrero can return to or live up to some of the past post hype. Some of the past post hype. That's not what I'm trying to say. He is a post hype guy, who hopefully he can live up to some of those past expectations. But it seems like it's going to be in a backup role anyway. So I don't know how you really get that out of him, but I don't know.
Yeah.
You do got to get answers on the guy because, if he doesn't stay, like, it certainly seems like something that you could get him up here, see what happens, give him some runway, and then make an easy long-term decision with him, and just know by June if he's a future with the Cardinals or not.
Yeah. I'm betting 0 talking about Birds Bucks that he is going to jump into some upper echelon of prospectum or even just being a valuable player, but it's fun and
Sure.
You see why. And again, him performing well right now is always a fun lever to pull. So I guess we'll see when he gets a start, where he gets a start, who's sitting because of that. Is he a defensive replacement? Is he going into the outfield, infield? What that all looks like. I also want to call out Sajaci has made some pretty spectacular plays at second base since he was up. There was a play over the weekend where the ball kind of took a funny bounce, or I think it hit Sonny Gray's hand, took a funny bounce. He redirected and made a fantastic play to the shortstop. I believe it turned into a double play. really exciting to see what we have in Sajaci. And like the logjam continues because, as soon as you get excited about Sajaci maybe taking over second base for some foreseeable future, well, it's, I got Brendan Donovan there. And okay, where's JJ Weatherholt going to play when he comes up? And what do we do with all these guys? And are any of them going to really stand out other than Brendan Donovan and his really nice start to the year? But we'll save that conversation for a few months down the road when hopefully we can have a little more data to support it. The other side of this, Ryan Lotus DFA'd. I don't think there's too much to talk about there or really all that surprising. He's fine. I think more importantly is that the fact that Ryan Fernandez has, I would say, finally been relieved and sent down. And I only say that not because it was like a too long for him to fail. It's just what it looked like. The slider just was not the slider that we saw last year. And I don't think he's lost the ability to throw it, or else I guess I would be surprised to learn that he's lost the ability to throw it. He needs to go down there and hopefully figure it out. And I assume that this will be quick, hopefully. And once he figures that out, he can come back up and be a big part of the bullpen because I don't, these guys can turn on a dime and maybe he's just done, but I find that hard to believe, especially what he did last year.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the right call. Give him some lower stakes environments to pitch and get it right. But I'm also hopeful he'll be back. I mean, we came into the year, a lot of us, myself included, were anticipating that he's likely the future closer in the inevitable movement off of Ryan Helsley, whether it's at midseason or in the off season. So like you said, this is the life of these guys. This is the reliever, 5 innings, 10 innings can change everything. So hopefully he can get it back and come back soon. And yeah, Loudest, that's how teams operate their 40-man roster. There's almost always a reliever on there that can be cut. He'll maybe get picked up by someone else or he'll end up back with the Cardinal organization. We'll see. But not a big surprise there.
Yeah, why not? Speaking of Ryan Fernandez and taking over the closer role and so on and so forth, it has been reported by your favorite national reporter, Bob Nightingale, that the Phillies and Diamondbacks have both expressed interest on the Cardinals closer, Ryan Helsley. Nate, how do you feel about that?
Let the trade rumors begin. We're in April and it's already starting. Not surprising as the Cardinals are in 4th place and have at least one high-end upcoming free agent. Now, Helsley hasn't had the most pristine start to the season, but if you watch it, you can tell he's fine. He's going to be fine. I'm not worried about Ryan Helsley. So it's not surprising that teams that are really gunning for it, especially the Diamondbacks and the Phillies, who I'm sure see themselves sort of in the shadows of the Dodgers and the Padres, they're going to be looking for every opportunity to min-max that team. And it wouldn't surprise me at all to find out that they're both already shopping for relief, which is what basically every playoff team is doing, is looking how to bolster their bullpen. And it's hard to find anyone better than Ryan Helsley for that. So it'd be, I'm still ready to have fun in 2025 and hopefully watch the Cardinals win some games and whatnot. But as someone who is also a bit of a prospect guy and just loves sort of the market and the machinations of how teams are built, I am very interested and excited to see what this trade deadline, which is 2.5 months away, might start to look like.
Well, and you wonder, with a closer, especially somebody like Helsley, who is going to be a free agent very likely at the end of this year, unless the Cardinals or X other team decide to extend him. The sooner the better, you would think. If you're the Phillies, who do they have? Jose Alvarado right now, who is their closer, who is highly effective, but doesn't really know where the ball is going most of the time. And then the Diamondbacks, I think they're doing Justin Martinez right now, who is the young kid who can throw 1 billion miles per hour, but also doesn't really know where it's going. The sooner you get a Helsley, the sooner you are feeling more confident about the back of your bullpen. And like you said, with the competition that's happening in the National League this year. I think the National League has, I don't know, 4 teams that are better than any team in the AL. 5 teams you could even argue that are better. I mean, it's stacked. This is the best I can remember the National League being, at least in a while. It makes a lot of sense for you to try to do what you're talking about, that min-maxing, making your team as good as possible as soon as possible, because it could come down to a win or two. All that being said, I also think these two teams have the type of prospects that the Cardinals might be interested in. I think the real question is, do we get into a prospect bidding war in between these two teams, or teams that we're not talking about right now? And how much juice can Heim and Mo squeeze out of this? And maybe, there's a chance, because I think you and I were complaining all offseason that the fact that they're not trading Ryan Helsley is stupid. Maybe they can get a little, $1.25 on value for Helsley now, or in the next month or something like that. I'm still worried that a guy who throws 100 miles an hour is going to get hurt and ruin those opportunities, but so far he's healthy and mostly effective.
Well, and let's not forget about Phil Maton. If we're already getting into the trade talks and who could be moved, you could argue Phil Maton has been more effective than Helsley and is in exactly the same situation. He is on a 1-year deal. Now, you could probably imagine that the Cardinals could extend him for much cheaper than they could a Ryan Helsley, but also the ceiling is not the same with a Ryan Helsley. And Phil Maton is exactly the type of reliever who gets traded at the trade deadline. So, Ryan Fernandez might end up being the closer just by last man standing sort of thing, or Kyle Leahy, right, who we'll talk about here in a little bit. But yeah, it's for either for winning today or for maximizing your trade output. It is best case scenario for the Cardinals that Ryan Helsley and Phil Maton are performing well, because it could be a fun end of July or maybe earlier, though. I still, unless the Cardinals are, and hopefully this isn't here sooner rather than later, but unless they're like 15 games under 500 by, May, I think that they're going to pretend that they're competing all the way up until,
herein lies
July.
the most frustrating thing about being a Cardinals fan over the past 2-3 years, is that they are not good enough to do anything, not good enough to make the playoffs, but just good enough to make you think about that 90th percentile outcome where, we could go on a run, and man,
it happened last
Central
year.
Isn't that good? I know.
We've got Eric
where
Fetty.
we are.
We've got Eric Fetty, who's also right there in that trade deadline talk. We got him because on July 31st, the Cardinals were looking like a serious contender for either the Central or that last wild card spot. I think, as you've already said, I think we all know the path for pretty much every NL Central team, maybe the Cubs, but pretty much every NL Central team, the path to the playoffs is through through winning it. Assuming the Dodgers, the Padres are, 1 and 2 as far as West and wild card. There's only a couple wild card spots left.
Cubs might be good, although them losing Steele, and I don't know if you saw this, but Imanaga went down last night.
Yeah.
I have not seen what the prognosis is for Imanaga yet, but those are damning.
I saw it was, at least last night, it was said that it's just a cramp. So unless it becomes something.
Good for them.
Yeah, we want them to lose because they get smashed for being bad. We don't really want to root for their guys to get hurt. It's
no. How about PCA being the second best player in baseball according to F4 right now?
Dude,
1 month in,
he's good. I've been saying it for a while. That power is going to come, and here it is. So yeah, he's good. Annoyingly.
What is also funny to note is that PCA is second best player in baseball right now, and Aaron Judge has a full 1 point of WAR accrued ahead of him, which just is unbelievable.
Judge I know we all love to talk Ohtani, but there is not a better hitter on the planet, and there hasn't been for the last year and a half than Aaron Judge.
He's a freak. He's
the
biggest, scariest man. And he hits the baseball the hardest.
and plays good outfield. I was looking
Yeah.
at, I posted this in the Bird Score the other day, and I think he's only hit more since I posted this, but it was something like over his last 120 games, he has a 490 OBP with like 60 home runs or something like that.
Yeah.
Like just absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I was thinking
That
about,
is.
it actually made me look. I'm like, is he Hall of Fame? Because, he's kind of a late bloomer, so to speak. He wasn't till it was like he was 27 or 28 before he really started hitting. And he's already at like 55 WAR, and he's only 33 or whatever. So 32. So yes, he's he's
He has.
probably already Hall of Fame, right?
He has. Yeah, I would vote for him for the Hall of
Yeah.
Fame if his ankle exploded today and he never played another game, just for what he's done. I think, and his like. I have never seen a power hitter like this. Obviously, the era was
It's the
different
closest
baseball.
analogy. It's like Bonds level, right? Is what he's
I mean,
doing
he has
right
put
now.
up 211 WAR seasons in the past or since 2022. No one else does that. I
Yeah.
mean, he is. I think on his way to maybe not being inner circle just because he's not accruing it, but on a rate basis, he is one of the best people to ever play baseball.
Yeah. It's wild. Where do
Um,
we get one of those?
just draft monsters.
Well, Jordan Walker similar sized.
Yeah, I he could be a late developer, a late bloomer. Like a lot of these monsters, Randy Johnson is probably the most famous example. He's
Mm-hmm.
6'10" or whatever, and he couldn't figure it out until he was 30 years old. Yeah, Jordan Walker has had a rough start though. Before we get into the Cardinals play, we also should call out the fact that Walt Jocketty has passed
Mm-hmm.
away at the age of 74. Obviously, the architect of the version of Cardinals baseball that you and I grew up on and were
Yep.
raised on, brought the team back to relevance. Him and LaRussa and McGuire and Pujols all really kind of shaped probably why I'm a Cardinals fan and how
Yeah.
my depth of Cardinals fandom. And he won a ship here. And then Mo kicked him out and sent him to Cincinnati for a while. But yeah, sad to see him go. Kind of young.
I
I guess
thought the
70.
same
I don't
thing.
know. But yeah, anyways, Walt Jocketty has provided me a lot of fantastic Cardinals memories, and sad to see him go.
Yes, and someone even put, some of the 2011 World Series in the hands of Jocketty. A lot of that team was left over still from him. Now, I don't want to take that away from Mozeliak. There was a lot that he did on that team, including that major trade. But you can just, the impact of Jocketty on the St. Louis Cardinals had a long tail, and he's really good. He's a really good at setting the Cardinals up, and yeah, we have a lot of very very good memories because of him. So
Yeah.
yep.
All right. Let's start talking about the Cardinals' play over the last week, which is a less fun topic than even that last topic we just hit, because they haven't been particularly inspiring. The Cardinals are 12-17. They are in fourth place. Since we last talked, they only managed 2 wins, which isn't great. And
Now,
I
to be
think
fair, it was winning the series against the Brewers.
sure,
So
it's great.
yeah.
Yeah, but that was it. The offense has taken a serious step back, Nate. Over the last 2 weeks, which is 12 games, the team has combined for an 84 WRC plus. That is 25th in MLB. On the entire season, they're 26 in MLB with only 24 home runs. Now, the good news is they are hitting a shitload of doubles. They are out doubling almost every team, but they're not hitting the ball over the wall. I'm not expecting these guys to be the Yankees, but with this lack of power and what we think the pitching staff is, it's just not going to work like this.
Yeah, we started recognizing that trend a week or two ago. Started talking about it on the show that the Cardinals were falling further and further back in the home run category. And you don't have to be top 5 to have a good offense. You don't even have to be top 10 in power to be a good offense. But you can't be bottom 5, And it's tricky. We can look around and say where should the power be coming from? Right. And so you think, okay, Wilson, well, there you go. Gorman, okay. Arenado, he had that huge one,
Yeah.
walk off, can't have, what's more fun than a walk-off home run off of Big Mac land, right?
That was, we were watched that together over the weekend, and I was literally standing and screaming.
Yeah.
That was great.
We expect moderate power from Newt. We expect moderate power from Walker. And, when Yvonne's back, we expect moderate power from him. But we're really getting that from nobody, right? Like, there's just not much coming from anywhere. And so you can point to the guys you say, well, that's where it needs to come from. But it's not going to come from anywhere else, right? We can't count on Victor Scott. We can't count on Mason Wynn. I know, I see your face. Scott's, hit a few, but he's the doubles guy.
I was about to bring up Lucan Baker. I think his lack of power has been surprising.
Yeah. It's one of those things where the Cardinals, you kind of got your guys that are supposed to hit home runs. They're not easily replaceable, and they're not hitting them. So is it an approach thing? We've been overall very happy with the hitter's approach this year. This could just be a 2-week sample size that, the team was one of the best in the league for 4 weeks, and maybe now it's just some variance, and we'll look back at a month from now and say, there's always going to be 2-week periods where it's up and down. A rough week as an 84, obviously not great, but you could do a lot worse than an 84 over 1 week. So I don't know. It's definitely something to track.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah. Definitely something to keep an eye on, because the only way this Cardinal team is good in 2025 is this offense winning a lot of games, because it's not going to come from the pitching.
Something, like I said, the doubles are really high, which is great. I think they're 3rd or 4th in the league in doubles. So it's not like there's absolutely no slug. It's just not the ball getting over the wall. And that could also be, it's 1 month. It's St. Louis. It hasn't been particularly warm. It's a hard ballpark to hit out, even when it's 97 and humid. So it could just be that first month kind of getting a little slow start, and as the air warms up, some of these balls that are warning track will go over. I'll also call out that they are pretty good at contact. They are not striking out a ton. They're walking at a very friendly rate. They're doing all the other things. So, if we want to half glass full this, I think, let's blame the St. Louis weather. It's been kind of cold and kind of wet.
Yeah.
Maybe we can see. I mean, like Mason Wynn was wearing a balaclava up until a week ago, right, or 2 weeks ago. Maybe we can kind of credit that for the power outage, and maybe it'll come. I do think Wilson starting to get going and starting to hit the ball over the wall will be a huge part of that. But it has been stark, I guess, so far.
Yeah, I think it's also fair to call out that it's been mentioned as a very positive thing, because the Cardinals have done generally well against it, but they've faced some of the best pitchers in the NL to start, and some in the AL to start this season. This has not been an easy opening run on the schedule for the Cardinals. So this stuff all normalizes over time. WRC plus over a 2-week period is a pretty small sample size, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Let's get back on being positive. Brendan Donovan is easily your MVP of the first month of baseball. He posted a 349 average in April, a 519 slug, is playing good defense, has been flexed out to the outfield. He's even stolen a couple of bases. The only thing he's not doing that he normally does is walk quite a bit. But when you're hitting 350... who needs to walk? His on base is almost 400, and that makes me happy, whether it's hits or walks. So he's got a 154 WRC plus. He's doing everything you could possibly ask of this guy. I think he's overperforming what we would all expect.
Yes.
But shout out to him. He's been fantastic. He's an all-star right now, which is really fun.
Oh, for sure. We'll see. The voting is always the whims of the fans and who gets all the press and whatnot, but he absolutely, if the selections were made right now, he'd be the Cardinals representative by a mile. Side note, Mason Wynn just hit a home run in the game that we're in, game 1 of the doubleheader.
Hey.
So that's fun.
That is much needed. I kind of had him in my brain as like probably hitting over 15 home runs this year. And that train starting to leave would be really fun. I think he just needs to get going, but I have lost zero confidence in Mason Wynn, even with his slow start. He's going to be great.
Yeah, I agree.
Lars Nootbaar, his start is also worth calling out. I think he had, a week and a half or so of really down baseball where he just could not get a hit. But you look, and at the end of the month, he had a 405 on base percentage, a 137 WRC plus. I think he's playing great defense. Love him at the top of the lineup. 4 home runs, a few stolen bases. Again, a guy that has all-star potential. I'm not sure he's going to start an all-star game. But I think that he has that kind of level to get voted to be one of the best players on this team. And I just love watching him play baseball. I think I've said that 1,000 times on this show, but he's just great.
Yeah, and with guys like him, playing every day, top of the lineup, we're charging full steam ahead towards not small sample size territory anymore.
Yeah.
Over 131 plate appearances. He's got that 137 WRC plus. He's already accrued 1 F4.
Walking more than he's striking out, which for a guy that walks as much as he, maybe not surprised by that, but it's the first time he's done it in his career. And I mean, nobody does that in baseball. So really, really great start to the year. And let's go Newt.
Yeah. Yeah. So, even though the team is in 4th place, 5 games under 500, there's definitely some individual performances to continue to be excited about. And that's kind of where we're at as Cardinal fans probably for 2025, right? I think we need to settle in on celebrating the individual performances and understanding what this team is going to look like in the future. I'm not yet giving up on 2025. I mean, look at the Braves. They started 0-9 or whatever. We were saying no team in baseball history has ever made the playoffs after the start that they had, and they're already almost back to 500, and it's only April, so you never know. We're only in April. Things can change.
We are early enough in the year that a week and a half of really good baseball flips the standings. Anything can happen, especially with the Cubs kind of experience what they're experiencing. I think the Reds have a high variance team, and I think the Brewers do too. But somebody who we're going to need to turn it on or do something different is Jordan Walker. 1 month in, he's in a pretty bad spot right now. He has a 58 WRC plus. The good news, Nathan, is that he is posting the best hard hit percentage of his young career, is the best launch angle of his career. The problem is he's striking out almost 29% of the time, and he only has 3 extra base hits, 2 homers, and a double. I was shocked when I found that out today that he only has 1 double on the year. A guy with his power, a guy with his speed, it's not good.
He seems to be exclusively hitting opposite field singles right now. That's been so many of his hits. I think I saw relatively recently that over half of his hits had been opposite field singles, which is an interesting approach. Tells you a little bit about what he's trying to do up there. But yeah, obviously it has just gotten worse and worse. I talked 2 or 3 weeks into the season about how fun his plate appearances were and how you could see everyone was sort of a battle, and he wasn't winning them all, but he was looking really locked in. That has started to collapse, which is something that we've seen from him now a couple years in a row. So I'm not quite sure what the fix is. You like to see those underlying numbers, hard hit and launch angle, 2 pretty important numbers for a guy like him. It's kind of surprising to have the best hard hit metric of his career while also such a bad WRC plus. But when you're not making contact otherwise, that's where that starts to come from.
Yeah. It's I don't know. What do you do, Nate? You just keep running him out there. I mean, that's the plan, right? You just keep running him out there, and maybe he pulls it together at some point. But it's not sad to watch. It just kind of sucks, and I don't want to watch Jordan Walker be bad.
I know. Well, the good thing is he's turned himself into a right field defensive specialist, so we are getting some fun from him out there.
He is playing quite well. That double play that he made earlier
Yeah.
in this week or last week, whenever that play was, where he kind of picked the guy off at first base after
Yeah.
making a nice catch, that was very impressive.
It was.
We have that to talk about, which is nice. But I mean, he's an offensive first player. He should be an offense first player, and again, there's a lot of reasons why it could be going slow. I'm trying to hold off the thoughts of maybe he's just not good. Because we still got a lot of time and he's still very young, but do I hate it.
It really is disappointing. It just everything about it this is part of the reason he flew up the prospect rankings. At one point he was the number one prospect in baseball, and it was almost exclusively from the eye test. Like you just look at this guy and you're like, come on, look at that bat speed. Look at everything. But
there's just so much dude there,
There's a lot of dude there. Got those big, sad eyes. You know what I mean?
Poor guy. Maybe he needs to flip that frown upside down. Maybe he needs to smile more.
Come on. He's so much prettier when he smiles. Yeah, it's disappointing. I think you just keep running him out, though. I don't know. We've played the minor league shuffle with him. It's just, I don't know. Just run him out all year and then make a hard decision at the end of the year.
Yeah. All right, let's get back on the positive note. Steven Matz, Nathan, has been pretty much great in his weird hybrid role that I thought he'd be starting a little more than he is. We're in 6-man rotation days, so he's got a start coming up. I actually think he's starting the second game on Wednesday, the day that we're recording. Yep. But however you look at it, he's thrown 20 innings. He's got a 1.8 ERA. He's not striking out everybody, but everything looks really good. The metrics look good. His FIP looks good. His expected ERA looks good. Everything is looking really sharp. His breaking ball is grading out really well on all of the advanced analytic websites and everything like that. He's doing Steven Matz stuff.
Yeah. This one, I mean, this is not surprising to me. We've always said, or at least this show, myself, we've always said he's good when he's healthy. It's never been a question of talent. Like, I know he's had periods of inconsistency. Every pitcher does. And you could say that's further exacerbated by injury, where you don't get like the consistent opportunity. It's hard to be good, let alone when you're going back and forth from the injured list. But he had a regular spring. His role is maybe not necessarily defined, but he's getting plenty of opportunity to pitch and throw innings, and he's excelling when he's there. So I'm not surprised. I'm happy for it. Happy for him. I mentioned earlier the Helsley and Maton element as far as trade goes. Matz is right there too. He's a free agent after this year. Seems very unlikely that the Cardinals will extend any of these guys. I don't even know that I would be asking them to extend any of these guys, though you could certainly understand why you might with someone like Matz. But either way, it's great. Trade him or keep him. You want to see him out there healthy and pitching well. I've always believed in the stuff.
Soaking up innings, doing that 6-man rotation. I think that there's a chance that if he doesn't get traded, he's likely to take over Miles Michaelis' spot in the rotation. Although, as we are talking right now, and I'm talking shit on Miles Michaelis, he is putting together a nice little performance against the Reds in that ballpark, which is not easy to do. So good for Miles. We also should talk about Kyle Leahy and how good he has been out of the bullpen so far. He has been the most used member of the bullpen over Helsley, over Phil Maton. Matz has him on innings slightly, but that's because he's done a start or two. But Kyle Leahy has got a 1.62 ERA and has clearly been used more and more and more as this young season has moved along.
Yeah, well, he has that benefit of he's gotten a lot of innings because he started in the low leverage, so they're throwing him out there wherever, and then he started getting better and better, and so now he's getting more high leverage innings, getting that 7th inning sort of thing. So we've kind of seen him everywhere all season in winning in losses and in wins, unlike a Helsley where we're really only seeing him in a very specific situation. I mean there's some stuff like.
This is what I was going to ask you. Is he good?
I think he's good.
Okay.
I do think he's at 16 innings out of the bullpen. He's gotten some very good results.
Yeah.
I worry a little bit if we look at
Yeah.
his FIP. It's a 3.62, so almost a full 2 runs better, or his results are 2 full runs better than what his underlying metrics are telling us he should get. But also 16 innings, that could be anything. So I don't know. What do how are you feeling? You think this is going to maintain?
No, I don't. I really want it to maintain, and maybe he can get better as the season goes on, and he's given more opportunity and more high pressure situations. But yeah, there's not really any number that I look at underneath the hood, and I'm like, you know what? He's figured it out. He's here. We got a new potential relief ace in the mix here. Yeah, it's those underlying metrics you hit. The fastball metrics are not particularly sexy, and he kind of leans on that fastball, super hard. The breaking ball is also not super sexy, and that's kind of his out pitch. He's got like a fifth starter's
Mm-hmm.
repertoire, and
I
don't
got a
know.
couple other scary numbers for you, Hambone.
Yeah.
His BABIP. So his BABIP against him,
Uh-oh.
0.083.
What? Really?
Yes.
Well,
And
that's damning.
he has a 97.2% left on base percentage.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can start to see maybe if a few more of those hits drop and that BABIP starts to normalize around the 300 that it does around most pitchers over a long enough time frame. You can see,
Yeah.
a lot of hits should be landing that have not. So I expect some regression, and out of the bullpen,
Yeah.
that usually never looks good. You don't,
No.
you typically don't regress, gently in the bullpen. But I don't know, sometimes he's making adjustments. He can do it at the big league level. Maybe he can improve before some of those numbers start to catch up with him. But certainly right now he's been getting pretty lucky.
Yeah. On the other side of that, I think it's worth talking about Matt Swanson, who's spent his first week with the big league club. He's thrown, he's only got 2 appearances so far.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you, I really like that fastball, and I really, really like the slider. The slider is nasty.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope we see more of him. Certainly, it seems likely that we will as some other guys struggle and the Cardinals try to figure out this bullpen. It's been one of the worst parts of the team, so we're going to see them play bullpen shuffle here and see who fits. But yeah, good results so far.
Yeah. I mean, I think, obviously it's very young. It's 2 games. It's almost no appearances, but the stuff looks good. The underlying metrics look good. I think a little more strikeouts, getting used to big league, but they might have found a guy, as long as he can stay in the zone and keep getting outs. But yeah, having a lot of fun there.
Yeah. Yeah, so the ups and downs continue. We got a doubleheader going right now, going into the 5th. The Cardinals are winning 1-0, which seems absolutely unlikely to be preserved at Great American Ballpark. But
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
yeah, so we'll see. Anything else with the Cardinals from the last week you want to talk about?
No, let's get some better baseball in our lives.
Yep. Yep. All right. We are going to talk about the upcoming series. Cardinals have some home cooking coming up, and hopefully we'll get some good results. But before we talk about that and some other things, we want to remind everybody that this show is listener supported on Patreon. Patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. If you enjoy the show and the time and effort it takes to bring it to you every single week, consider joining the Patreon. Just a couple bucks a month. It really helps us. It pays for our hosting and equipment and just making sure that we have everything we need to get this show to you. And whenever we have anything extra, that goes back into the show, trying to find more listeners, just expand it, things like that. So Everyone that contributes right now, shout out to all of our patrons. We truly appreciate you. And it has really made a new home for me on the internet for talking about baseball, which is our private Discord server, the Bird Scored. You can join the conversation by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Also, if you leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform, it really does help. Helps us show up in search results and things like that. And then finally, word of mouth is still the biggest way our podcast spreads, which I want to give a shout out to a woman on TikTok. Ben and I have been doing more TikTok, taking the show, putting it on there. And there's a woman her name is Brantley, who has been making little videos about her bike riding and listening to our show. So I'm sorry, Brantley, wherever you are, that you have to listen to us while you're on your bike. It's already a grueling experience. But I really appreciate it. Really appreciate you listening and spreading the word.
When I first saw this, my thought was this person is a masochist. You poor thing.
So thank you for listening and spreading the love of the show. And so Hambone, where else can people find us online?
Nailed it. Crushed it. Totally landed that plane.
Thanks,
like
dog.
Nate said, we're on the TikTok. You can TikTok with us or at us if you prefer to. We're on the Blue Sky, Instagram, all of the socials, except for the bad ones, I guess.
Find us on the good ones. Get away from the bad ones.
That's what we say. The show is available to listen to on Spotify. If you're one of those people, you can also listen and watch this show on YouTube. We post full video versions of this podcast. So if you're a freak like that, you can come look at our faces, yap on for a while. You can find all of the podcast information, t-shirts, everything at talkingaboutbirds.com. Of course, you can email us at talkaboutbirds@gmail.com. And I implore you, I beg you to call us and leave a voicemail or send us a text message, Nathan, to 848-48-BIRDS. That's 848-482-4737.
Ben is screaming at the microphone. Ooh. Call us.
Fired up.
Ideas, questions, comments, anything.
Threats, criticisms.
Mm-hmm. I will report you to the authorities if you threaten me.
Obviously.
But if you threaten Ben, I will give you hints and clues as to how to execute those plans.
I think it would be so easy.
We shall co-conspire. You can ride up in your boat and yell at us from 50 yards away.
Oh, yeah. We while we were fishing, a older gentleman decided to ride his boat up to us, and I believe that he said he was going to kick our fucking asses.
Yes.
Something like that.
It was
while we were blasting. I think it was the Rolling Stones on.
Or beat your ass. Beat your ass. Yeah.
So we were scared. Obviously,
he thought we broke some boat laws. We did not break some boat laws. We are good.
What they don't know about Nate is that all he knows about is boat laws.
I got my degree in boat law. They call me Dr. Boat.
They do, which is interesting because they call me Dr. Camp. We should work together on this.
That makes sense. I've also been called Dr. Mountain at one point in my life.
Oh my God.
Which I believe is a Vess Dr. Pepper derivative sort of thing too.
Oh, I would drink it.
So yeah, come at us like that guy who we ignored and then he turned his boat around and just puttered away.
Oh, poor guy.
Probably to continue his lead poisoning treatment. All right.
Yeah.
Hambone, we've got a couple series at home. We just saw them. The Mets, the bringers of the 4-game sweep earlier, just a few weeks ago, come to St. Louis. And we just talked about this team. They're one of the best in the league. Pete Alonso, big tough guy. He's doing everything right. I don't know. What do you want to say about the Mets? We just talked about them.
Yeah, they're really, really good. Brandon Nimmo just had a 9 RBI game, which set a Mets record. Pete Alonso, Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor. This team is stacked, and they're playing like it. They're really good. And we're all just kind of having to deal with it. The Cardinals are going to draw Clay Holmes for game 1. Tyler McGill, sorry. for Game 2, and Griffin Canning for Game 3. If you're not familiar with Clay Holmes or Griffin Canning, these are two reclamation projects, or just they're adjustments that the Mets have been working on, and they have been having really, really great starts to the season. Clay Holmes in particular. So it's a really tough assignment for the Cardinals. Really good pitching. Edwin Diaz has kind of locked it in over the last week or so. They just kicked our ass. They, probably easy or safe money is to bet on them to do that again. Unfortunately.
Yeah, Clay Holmes is continuing a trend that really has happened in baseball for a long time, but seems to be even more prevalent right now, of the sort of mid-career reliever who finally puts it together and gets a spot to start and converts it. So he was closing and relieving for the Yankees and hit the free agent market and was pitching himself as a starter, and the Mets decided to take that chance, and so far so good for them. And yeah, Griffin Canning, like you said, it's a guy that's kind of been hyped for years and just has not been able to stay healthy, not been able to put it together. Certainly looked like he was doing both of those things against the Cardinals 2 weeks ago. So maybe they can do better at home against him.
Yeah.
Mets are a tough team, especially at Citi Field. Maybe they can stall him a little bit. Vientos is also starting to hit. So that lineup is just killer. You got Juan Soto, Alonso,
who hasn't even really heated up yet.
No, Alonso seemingly has to calm down at some point, but that might be lined up with Soto starting to bash. So we'll see.
Yeah. Not a great draw for the Cardinals. But the good news is that the Pirates come to St. Louis right after that. And the Pirates are a much worse team.
Yes. The only team that we can say are below us in the NL Central.
This time we're playing the Pirates. We will see Paul Skeens. Looks like the Cardinals are going to draw Cameron Mitozinski, something like that. Paul Skeens and Mitch Keller are the projected starters for that series. So obviously Paul Skeens and Mitch Keller, not super excited to see those guys. But the rest of this team, they're really not that good. O'Neal Cruz is having a really nice start to the year.
Yes.
Andrew McCutchen, if you look at his underlying metrics, he is hitting the shit out of the ball.
I was going to bring that up too. It's we love looking at StatCast. You love seeing someone all red. He has a surprisingly deep red StatCast right now.
Really does, yeah. I think you and I must have been clicking the same things, but yeah, he's had a very nice start.
Completely unrelated to any of that other than StatCast. Have you looked at Jorge Polanco on StatCast?
I picked him up on one of our fantasy leagues, and he's been doing me well.
He is, at least as of I think it was yesterday, he was leading all of baseball in every single expected stat.
So funny, because if I remember correctly, the Mariners didn't sign him for like $5 million and then brought him back for like $2.5 million, and he's been far and away their best player to start the season.
He has an expected WOBA of 503.
Go, if you haven't picked him up yet, go get him in your league. He is dominating right now.
He is 100th percentile, which means he's number one in expected WOBA, expected batting average, expected slugging, and then he's 99th percentile in launch angle sweet spot, and a couple I won't go.
He's good.
It's crazy.
At least he's good right now.
He's good right now, over 72 at 79 plate appearances.
Yeah.
But anyway,
pretty impressive.
Back to the Pirates.
I don't think there's much else to say. I mean, we know this team, the personnel hasn't really changed all that much. Tommy Pham got in trouble for making a suggestive motion to a Los Angeles Angels fan, but he'll be back. This team they're a bad team. They're definitely worse than the Cardinals. You should go in there and take 2 out of 3.
It's going to be sad when Tommy Pham retires and we don't just have these random little pop-up stories of like Tommy Pham doing something kind of awful and kind of shitty to like either a fan or a player or his own team. Like, guy's got to be a piece of shit. Like, some people seem to like him in the dugout, but it seems like this guy just kind of sucks.
He's my kind of guy, I think.
You see a lot of yourself in him.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, him and I
Taunting
both have
people.
degenerative eye conditions, so
Yeah.
him and I are aligned in that.
Him and I have both been stabbed outside of a strip club.
I remember that
Remember?
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Down in the Lake of the Ozarks.
Uh-huh.
All right. Let's get into league news, Nate.
Okay.
Okay. The Orlando baseball effort has secured $1.5 billion to bring the Rays to Central Florida. I think we were talking about this over the weekend. I think this is the most likely outcome. Is that the Rays are going to move to Orlando. It's within driving distance of Tampa.
Yeah.
And this is a group that actually wants to build a ballpark and, encourage winning baseball. So I think this is good news. I like tracking these stories because the closer we get to solving these stupid problems with the Rays and the A's means the closer we can get to talking about expansion.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really looking forward to 2 more teams coming into baseball, just for all the fun that will entail around that.
Yeah.
But we're getting closer step by step.
Yeah, I like this one. You would I'd been kind of in the camp of like, well, Tampa Bay, they can't have a team. They can't support their team. So they should be moved. You've kind of convinced me that it's more a product of the location and the stadium and all that. So I had moved back into the camp of give Tampa Bay a true stadium in Tampa Bay proper, and all those problems will be solved. But if you can't do that, to me, this seems like the next best option. If you are truly a big time Tampa Bay fan and you live in Tampa Bay, you can still get to games in Orlando. I know it's easy to say, harder to do if it ends up being like an hour and a half away. That's not like, it's basically being like in St. Louis, like going to Columbia for games.
Right.
It's doable, but it's going to limit most working people from doing like a weeknight game and stuff like that. But Orlando's a giant market, and it is close enough to where at least you can still feel like you can support them, and it's still like part of your area, So I'm for it. Orlando has supported teams in the past, not baseball teams, but they supported professional teams, and the Rays are consistently good generally. So if you get them a good ballpark in a metropolitan area, I suspect that they'll fill it up.
And an owner that maybe will spend a little more, I think,
Yeah.
so that you can keep on to players that people like, which should also help increase, gate sales. But yeah. The Guardians have issued a formal apology to Red Sox Jarren Duran after a fan shouted some pretty heinous shit. If you haven't been watching the Red Sox documentary on Netflix, Jarren Duran very publicly went through a mental health issue where he said that he was close to suicide. This fan basically said he should have gone through with it. Obviously, Duran lost it a little bit on that comment. That's clearly ridiculous.
Yep.
And they're talking about this fan getting a permaban, a lifetime ban from MLB stadiums, which I'm fine with.
Do it. Yeah, get them out of there.
You're a piece of shit. You talk about being a piece of shit. What a piece of shit thing to do.
Yeah. Ban him
That's
from
not fun.
A mile radius of the ballpark. That guy sucks. Like completely.
Jarren Duran putting himself out there, trying to connect with people. They said that the suicide hotline, the day that episode dropped, and they were the day that they were talking about that on ESPN baseball, the suicide hotline had like a massive increase in phone calls and stuff like that. It is clearly good for people to share this thing.
Yeah.
And if you're the type of person that would then go and use that as something to hurt somebody, you're a piece of garbage.
Yeah.
So I say throw the book of the guy. Don't ever come into a big league ballpark ever again.
Yeah. Agree 100%.
Woof. All right. Let's talk about something a little less annoying. Actually, it's equally annoying, just a different kind of annoying. I want to talk about a couple.
Annoying?
No, it's not. But I am a part-time Rockies fan, so I'm speaking hyperbolically a little bit right now. I want to talk about a couple of what I'm calling surprises in the standings. This one might not be a huge surprise, but
Benny's Corner, surprises in the standings.
It's a new segment within a segment.
He's calling it surprises in the standings. Wow.
All right. Hit me up, post me or skeet me on Blue Sky if this is good, and post me on X if this is bad. I'll check them both, I swear. The Rockies are on pace to beat the White Sox 121 loss season, which I'm sure everyone remembers happened last year by posting a 4-25 start, Nate. First off, I'm surprised because, well, that record was set last year, and I cannot believe a team is already 1 month in on pace to eclipse that record. I will say, the Rockies are really, really bad. They've done nothing to help themselves. They spend money poorly. Their pitching is a joke. Do you think this team is bad enough to outdo what the White Sox did only 1 year ago?
Well, couldn't happen to a nicer team, nicer fan base. Gotta love those big Rocky Mountains, don't we, folks?
Wow.
I cannot imagine they're going to beat the Rockies or the White Sox record from last year. It feels like almost just the variance of Coors Field will make that not happen. Like the Rockies are going to get behind some and hit a few dingers and win, and just sort of, whether it's skill or not, like they're going to luck into a few more wins than the White Sox did last year. I think on paper the Rockies are a better team this year than the White Sox last year, but it's certainly close. I mean, the White Sox had Crochet for half the season, and then they had an underperforming Luis Robert, and it kind of stops at that. And then the
Who's
White Sox,
your guy on the Rockies? Yeah, they don't have a Luis
Brenton
Robert.
Doyle.
Maybe.
I think he's good.
Maybe.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just think probably like the White Sox, that was also a deeply bad variance for them. Like they were just so unlucky over and over last year for that to happen. It seems unlikely to me that's going to happen again and especially on a team that has a stadium like Coors Field. But
that is true.
They're on pace for it. So, hard to say it's impossible.
My one major counterpoint to that is that the White Sox did that in a very average AL Central last year.
True.
The Rockies might be in the most competitive division in baseball. They have to play the Dodgers, the Giants, the Padres, and the Diamondbacks more than anyone else. And I would say all four of those teams have postseason aspirations. And will likely get better as the season goes on. I think the big question will be, like the White Sox, who kind of traded off their scraps or what they could last year, the Rockies are very likely to just sit completely still and keep their roster no matter what happens. So we'll be tracking that. I'll say that. All right. The other surprise in the standings I wanted to bring up and to get your take on was the Baltimore Orioles are sitting in last in the AL East, 11-18. The Yankees are at the top of the division, 18-12. And the thing with the Orioles is they're hitting the snot out of the ball, but they have allowed 165 runs against 115 runs scored. They are getting their asses kicked. Our good dear friend Kyle Gibson made news earlier this week by giving up 4 home runs in the first inning, 3 home runs in a row. And
it's the Yankees. That's the second time. Remember the opening game of the year, the torpedo bat, everything came from that, from the Yankees hitting back-to-back-to-back home runs. Poor Kyle Gibson. I don't know. Like, I feel for the Orioles fans. We've talked about this a lot, Here we can go into a segment within a segment within a segment talking about other birds. The Orioles
inside of league news, inside of surprise in the standings.
That's right. We are deep.
Holy shit.
We're deep in this bear. They made no meaningful effort to improve the pitching on the team. And it was already not great. And then they lose Grayson Rodriguez, who a lot of people, myself included, were quite high on, but even still, he hasn't quite put it together. So they lost their ace, who was still kind of a question if he even is an ace. And then here we are. They're playing in the AL East, like you were saying with the NL West. Like every team in the AL East looks kind of good right now too. So it's kind of what, if Charlie Morton is your solution, you're going to have a bad time. So I do feel for them because they are a team that is set up for success and they just needed some support from a pitching staff standpoint, and they've got none of it, and they're falling further and further behind in a deeply competitive division.
Yeah. I'll just say I agree with everything you said. This is what you get. You don't get a lot of opportunities to have a good young team that should be ready for a playoff push in a division where you could see yourself competitive, and not pushing your chips in even slightly to fight for that playoff spot in World Series. This is what you deserve. I find it's
exactly
hard.
what we've dealt with as Cardinal fans for the last several years. Just sort of like an inability to pick a lane. Are you going for it or not?
Yeah. All right, that's all I got for surprises in the standings and league news.
Well, I did want to throw in some sort of baseball adjacent news came out over the weekend that I think a lot of people have sort of mixed takes on, depending on your fandom of something, but I think is very interesting from a Cardinal fan standpoint. Lin-Manuel Miranda, the sort of brains behind a lot of major hits, but specifically Hamilton, the blockbuster musical from 7-8 years ago, sort of offhandedly announced in a red carpet interview that he is working on a movie about the Molina brothers.
Yeah.
With intent on celebrating more Latin actors. Don't know anything else about it. His history would tell you that it's very likely a musical, but something about the seriousness that, like, musicals are inherently, I'm a big musical fan, they are inherently silly. There's a silly, like, no matter how serious it is, there's something a little silly about it because it's a musical. And the seriousness at which Yadier Molina presents himself makes it impossible to me to believe that this is going to be a musical. But I don't know, I'm personally a big fan of Lin-Manuel Miranda. I don't understand how this is even a possible subject matter for him. But I'm intrigued, and I think it would be interesting just from a broader cultural standpoint. No matter what he puts out, it gets a lot of eyes. And so a Molina Brothers movie is something I was not anticipating at all, let alone it being from, like, arguably the most famous, like, writer and composer on the planet right now. So we'll see.
Yeah, I have nothing to add to that. I will say, you told me this over the weekend. This was news to me, but I did not know that he is related to Jose Miranda, who is on the Twins. So there are baseball connections here,
which may be part of where it comes from.
I'll watch it if it's a movie about the Molina brothers. I'll watch it, whether it is a musical or whatever.
Well, my name is Yadier, and I'm here.
I
to
know.
Say.
I am not as big of a fan as Lin-Manuel Miranda, but
throw him out.
I'm here for
throw him out.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I am a fan, but I just these he does like kids movies and Hamilton and In the Heights and stuff like that. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I like more Molina content.
Absolutely. No argument there.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, Hambone, there was another big piece of news over the last week. I can't believe it hasn't been brought up yet, Ben. The Pope is dead. We gotta get a new Pope.
Okay.
And you know who picks the Pope?
The Cardinals?
The Cardinals.
Yeah.
So obviously there's an overlap in our interests.
Oh my God.
I was looking at lists of popes, doing some pope search. And
I got a
little game here for you, Hambone.
Okay.
I'm calling this one
Pope or player?
Pope or Nope.
Oh, damn. That's better. That's better than my suggestion.
So here on Pope or Nope, I'm going to say a name, and you're going to tell me, was it a former Pope or was it a former member of the St. Louis Cardinals?
Okay. I'll just say this right now. I couldn't tell you the Pope that just passed. I couldn't tell you his name.
Okay.
So I'm going to be I'm locked in.
It is tricky because they
They're
become
all like
Pope
John and Paul, right?
and they get a new name. Yeah, like
Yeah.
the Pope's name is not their name. It's
Right.
a Pope name.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Presidents should do that.
Yeah, well, that's what kings did. Like King Henry,
Yeah.
it'd be like, okay, now Charles is now Henry and things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We're not far off from it, Hambone.
Am I right? Commentary.
Commentary. All right. So let's start this off. John D. Aquisto.
Sounds like a Pope, I think. I'll go Pope.
That was a pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals in 1977. John
And
D.
he went
Aquisto.
John D. He went John D. like that?
It was D apostrophe Aquisto.
Oh, okay. I thought you were giving a middle initial. All right.
Oh, no. Yeah, John D. Aquisto.
Okay.
Pitcher. All right. Giovanni Sicco.
Ooh. Damn, that should be a baseball player, but I've never heard of him. What a sicko. I hope that's not a Pope. I'm gonna go nope on this one.
That is indeed a Pope. Giovanni Sicco, his reign lasted from the 16th of May, 1003 to November 6th, 1003.
Can't believe I don't remember him.
He reigned for 174 days. Okay.
Oh, okay. Huh. That seems like a short poping.
It is, not a long Pope.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what an average Pope, how long do a Pope go?
It's got to be at least a few years. I mean,
You would certainly think
174
so.
days is nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the pomp and circumstance for
It
that.
takes a lot to get a new Pope. And then like
That's what
6
I'm
months
talking
later,
about.
you're like, clean out the chimney.
He gone.
All right. Ossie Schreckengast.
Wow. That is one hell of a name. I'm just guessing. I'm going to go Pope.
That is a player. You are over 3. Ossie was a first baseman in 1899.
Wow. Okay.
All right. Maurice Bourdain.
Pope.
That is a Pope. You got one, Hambo.
I had to just by the 50-50 nature of this, I had to get one.
His reign of terror lasted from March 10th, 1118 to the 20th of April, 420, baby, 1121. So he poped for 3 years and 41 days.
Cool.
Okay. Angelo Carrere.
Nope.
That is a Pope. Angelo
Damn.
Carrere. In 1406 to 1415, he ruled for almost 9 years.
That's the kind of Pope I'm talking about right there. He's got longevity.
John Antonelli.
Nope.
Nope, that is not a Pope. He was an infielder for the Cardinals in 1944 and 1945.
Sure he was.
Got a few more for you, Hambone. All right.
This is the worst game you've ever devised.
Whatever. This one's awesome. Albino Luciani.
Pope.
That is a Pope. He actually was a Pope for only 33 days.
Yeah.
From in August of 1978 to September of 1978.
This guy, he doesn't even deserve a Wikipedia entry if he's only been a Pope for 33 days.
He might have been an interim Pope. I don't know. It was the 70s. Might have just drifted off somewhere.
Sure.
His name was
That makes
Albino, though.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a good name.
Yeah. All right. Couple more for you. Vicente Palacios.
Nope.
Not a Pope. He was a pitcher for the Cardinals in 1994.
Could have told you that. Duh.
And finally, Jorge Bergoglio.
Nope.
Hambone, may he rest in peace. That was our most recent Pope.
Told you. Didn't even know his name.
He lasted for 12 years and 39 days. I also
that's a real Pope right
that's
there.
A real Pope.
That's 12 years. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. Now we all wait to see who our new Pope will be.
Oh, on bated breath, Nathan. I cannot wait.
I know it's an
I haven't slept.
How could you? we're all just staring, waiting for that white smoke, that glorious white smoke to rise, to flow. Pope Pizza Balla. I know it's a meme at this point, but I'm all in on Pizza Balla.
Hey, I've seen the movie Conclave. I know all about poping.
You know more about poping than I do. I've seen Sister Act. He's in that.
The Pope is?
Yeah, they play to him at the end. It's like the it's the big thing at the end. They play to the Pope.
All right. Apparently Pope stuff just does not stick in my brain. I am not clocking Pope.
Well, JD Vance killed our most recent one, so hopefully this next one avoids that similar fate.
We could all, try avoiding that, I think.
Well, it's getting harder and harder. But here we are at the end of this episode. So, Hambone, you did all right. You actually ended up, after a rough start, you got about half of them right. So, pretty good. Pretty good. You really...
I locked in, Nate.
You
locked in.
Yeah, you worked hard on that one, just like I did. List of all popes. Great Google search.
I'm sure.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Talking About Birds. Remember, all of our links and everything are at talkingaboutbirds.com. To all of our socials and our Patreon. Check it out. We appreciate you. We will be back, hopefully after a better week of Cardinal baseball. If not, we'll be here either way talking about it. So, tell your friends. Till then, go Cardinals.
Let's go Birds.
Huh. My mouse is frozen.
What are you, a boa constrictor at the zoo?
I don't get it.
They eat frozen mice.
Oh my God.
Are you a boa constrictor at the zoo about to eat?
Yeah, I should have added extra context.
Because you've got a frozen mouse. I see. Okay.
Come on, that was good.
Yeah.
My references are deep.
Dude.